The pattern is there, hidden in plain sight within the manager's own words. Listen to the language. The specific cadence of frustration used to describe certain matches. One game is dismissed as having not much football, a fragmented affair defined by stoppages, and a lack of fluidity. Another is labelled very disruptive, a contest of navigating difficulty rather than expressing skill. A third, even in victory, is credited to an opponent whose primary skill is organisation and the cultivation of frustration. These are not comments about freak occurrences or isolated bad days. They are repeated diagnosis of a specific type of ailment. While the results have been overwhelmingly positive, a team sitting at the summit, a defensive record that is the envy of Europe, a palpable sense of destiny. These consistent verbal cues from the dugout point to an identifiable pressure point. So, let's engage in the exercise. If we were an opposition analyst, tasked with cracking the code of this formidable side, where would we even begin? The evidence, ironically, is supplied by the architect himself. This is the analytical blueprint for challenging Arsenal. First, we must identify the broadest conditions for success. Looking at the points dropped over a significant period, a profile emerges. It is not necessarily the absolute elite who consistently take points, but more often the determined, physically robust sides nestled in the upper mid-table. Their average league position skews tellingly. Furthermore, a tactical trend becomes difficult to ignore. Systems employing a back three or a back five. Whether it's a deep-lying blockade or a wing-back-fueled counterpunch, this structural shape has consistently provided a stiffer challenge. The data reveals a noticeable dip in expected goal dominance when facing these formations compared to the more common back four. The reason is foundational. These systems add extra central security, crowd the zones where Arsenal's creative midfielders want to operate, and can transition quickly into wide attacks against potentially exposed fullbacks. It's a framework built for disruption. Of course, context is king, and a significant part of that context is personnel. To face Arsenal at their peak, with their pillars firmly in place, is a vastly different proposition to facing compromised version. A cursory glance at the fixtures where points were surrendered. This season tells a story not of excuses, but of cumulative strain. The absence of the world-class centre-back pairing, the captain and midfield metronome, the primary goal threats. These are not minor adjustments. They are the removal of the team's foundational circuitry. Arsenal's game model is a precise machine. Remove several key components and the efficiency drops. The machine still functions, but it becomes more susceptible to external interference. An effective blueprint, therefore, involves facing this version of Arsenal whenever possible, which, given the relentless schedule, is a likelihood rather than a hope. The final broad stroke element is the temporal landscape of the modern game. Arsenal's football is predicated on rhythm, control, and sustained pressure. It is a style that thrives with the ball in play. The contemporary Premier League match, however, is increasingly becoming a stop-start affair. The percentage of total match time lost to stoppages, fouls, injuries, VAR checks, calculated time wasting is at a decade high. This erosion of fluid play is a weapon in itself. Teams that successfully fragment the game, that turn 90 minutes into a series of 40-second vignettes, are directly attacking Arsenal's ability to build momentum. It is a form of tactical erosion, and the numbers show that the teams who have recently caused Arsenal the most discomfort are often those who sit at the very bottom of the league for ball in play percentage. They are not trying to win a football match in the traditional sense. They are trying to prevent one from ever occurring. With the broad parameters set, we drill down into specific, targetable vulnerabilities. The first is a surprising one, given Arsenal's own legendary prowess: defensive set pieces. For a side that concedes so few goals from open play, the proportion of goals conceded from dead ball situations becomes statistically pronounced. It has been the highest in the league, as a percentage of total goals conceded. While some of this is a byproduct of general defensive excellence, if you only concede a few goals, set pieces will naturally represent a larger slice. The raw numbers and the eye test suggest a minor but persistent itch. This season alone, goals have been conceded from a front post corner, a second phase scramble, and a direct free kick. The patterns opponents use are revealing. There is a recurring focus on attacking the front post zone or on creating clever detachments and blocks at the back post. So, even in games where no goal is conceded, clear-headed chances from corners and free kicks have been present. This is not a crisis, it is a margin. And at the very top, games are won and lost in the margins. For an opposition, targeting these meticulously rehearsed set-piece routines with even more meticulous analysis is no longer optional. It is a prime avenue for generating precious, low-probability chances against a defence that gives away very little else. The second tactical lever to pull is the disruption of Arsenal's build-up play at source. Arsenal's desire to build from the back is fundamental, a non-negotiable tenet of their philosophy. When it works, it draws opponents out, creates numerical superiorities in midfield, and seamlessly transitions the team into attacking structures. But when it is disrupted, the entire offensive sequence can stall. The most visible symptom of this disruption is a sharp increase in long passes from the goalkeeper. The data shows an undeniable correlation. In Arsenal's most stressful, fraught performances, even those that end in victory, the number of long 40-plus yard launches from the goalkeeper spikes significantly. This is not always a bad thing. A well-placed long ball can be a brilliant tool to bypass a press. The question is one of intention versus coercion. Is it a planned tactic or a forced plan B?
Mane.
With the current profile of attacking players, whose aerial dual win rates are not a primary strength, the efficacy of this approach is debatable. Against Chelsea, this coercion was evident. The press was aggressive, the passing lanes into midfield were blocked. Ian, the goalkeeper, was often forced into long, hopeful balls towards forwards, who were isolated against physical defenders. Winning the first duel was difficult. Securing the second ball was nearly impossible. So, it created a turnover and instantly handed the initiative back to a waiting opponent. The blueprint, therefore, involves a brave, coordinated and intelligent press, not necessarily a frantic one, but a structured effort to cut off the primary passing options and force Arsenal into their less comfortable, more speculative Plan B. This leads to the final and most crucial component of the blueprint, the game's emotional and physical texture. This is the essence of those Arteta quotes. To beat Arsenal, you cannot simply try to out-Arsenal Arsenal. You must change the very nature of the contest. So, you must make it a fight before it becomes a football match. The statistics from dropped points this season are stark. In those games, opponents accumulate far more yellow cards, commit more fouls, and cover a similar, if not greater, running distance than Arsenal, say. The aim is to create a bitty game, one riddled with stoppages, niggling fouls, and physical contests. It is about breaking the rhythm at every turn, ensuring no passage of play lasts more than a minute before a whistle blows. It involves tactical fouls to prevent transitions, aggressive duels to assert physical dominance, and a general acceptance of disciplinary punishment as a cost of doing business. Chelsea executed this masterfully. From the first minute, the tackles were heavy, the challenges were on the edge, and the message was clear. This would be a war of attrition. It frustrates the technical player, it angers the fans, and it can sway a referee into a pattern of permissiveness. It turns a technical chess match into a scattered, emotionally charged scrap. And in that environment, variance thrives, mistakes happen, and the gulf in technical quality can be bridged by sheer force of will and disruption. So, is there a guaranteed formula? Of course not. This is perhaps the most complete Arsenal side in a generation. A team capable of winning in multiple ways and powered by a ferocious collective will. The weaknesses identified are often merely the flip side of incredible strengths. A high defensive line risks transitions. A commitment to build up invites a press. A technical style is vulnerable to aggression. Furthermore, this is a team that has shown a remarkable capacity for self-correction and tactical evolution from season to season. What this blueprint offers is not a promise, but a pathway. It outlines the only conceivable strategy. Be physically impeccable. Be tactically disciplined in a low or mid-block. Attack set pieces with precision. Press the build-up with intelligence and courage. And, above all, embrace chaos. Above all, embrace chaos. You must be willing to sacrifice aesthetics, accept bookings, and run until you have nothing left. You must hope for key absences in the Arsenal lineup, and you must pray for the marginal moments, the deflected shot, the contentious penalty decision, the set-piece glance, to go your way. Ooh. power. Because even if you execute all of this perfectly, you are not facing a football team. You are facing a belief. You are facing a group that, as their manager says, are animals in their desire. You can maybe, just maybe, take a point or steal a win. A win. But you will leave the pitch exhausted, battered, and with the distinct knowledge that you have not solved them. You have only survived them. And as the season reaches its climax, that may be the difference between being a team that briefly stalled the champions and being the team that actually stopped them. A